Okay, so turn 5, threat is at the top of medium. We are at 9, and the prisoners are going to go ahead and start this turn off. So we want to clear out that hallway there. So we're going to start out with Axel, and we're going to get him to move backwards 4 inches and come down here next to Dexter. And we can have the characters move through characters in their own party, just not through enemy survivors or other walkers. So we're going to bring Axel down there and end his turn. All right, so now we're going to come to Tyrese, and Tyrese is going to run through the watchtower and come into contact with Thomas on the other side. All right, so Tyrese comes through the tower into contact with Thomas, and that's going to pull in the closest walker. Okay, and back over to the prisoners. We're now going to take Dexter, and he's going to make a run move up through that hallway to go over and come into contact with Alan. And that noise is going to bring in the closest walker. And inside of buildings, walkers aren't stopped by walls. They're going to keep moving until they either get their full 6 inches or come into contact with someone. So that's going to bring in the walker that's out here in the hallway into that room and into contact with Lori. Okay, and the only character left to activate is Andrew, because everyone else has been tied up by walkers, and Andrew has low nerve, so we're going to have to roll the panic die to see what he's going to do. Okay, so the question mark is going to give Andrew 1 action. So what we're going to do is just try and get him to lower the threat by rolling the black die. Alright, so I actually forgot about Rick out here at the front of the guard shack. So what we're going to do with him is just try and lower the threat with Rick, and that's going to be the only thing we're going to do with him this go round. I don't want to get him into that combat and then have the prisoners split that off because they have initiative and have Rick not be able to fight against Thomas. So let's see if he can lower the threat. Alright, so Rick lowers it by 1. We bring it down to 8, so we're back in low threat. We'll look for some kill zones here, and I don't believe that anyone is in range of any kill zones, so we'll go into our next event card. Alright, and we come up with a new event card here called Advanced Scouts. So the player with initiative, which is the prisoners, will roll a blue die and immediately place that many extra supply counters on the board no closer than 5 inches to any survivor. Alright, this is a different one. Alright, so we've gone and put 2 more supply counters on the board back in the cafeteria where the prisoners started at. Alright, so that's going to bring us to the melee phase. So we're going to up the threat by 1 to 9. We are back at medium threat, and we're going to start out with Thomas against Tyrese and 1 walker. Alright, so this is going to be Tyrese and 1 walker. Alright, so Thomas needs a big roll here. He's going to use the shiv that he is equipped with from the beginning of the game and add that into his base white melee. Alright, so Thomas has the stab special roll, which allows him to reroll any sharp weapons. So what we're going to do is try and reroll that red die and hope for a 2. Alright, so Thomas suffers a bite and a headshot, and he is unfortunately removed from play. So that's our first casualty. Alright, so down here into this hallway, we're going to go with Lori against 1 walker. Alright, so Lori ties combat there and pushes that walker back an inch. We'll now go into Alan against Dexter. So Dexter is attacking, and he has a red and a white as his base, plus an extra red for the ride baton that he's carrying. And Alan rolls a red and a white to attack Dexter. And remember, Alan is the bruiser, so he can re-roll the red. Alright, so these 2 tie combat. Alan can't be moved back because of where Lori is, so we just inch Dexter a little bit back further there. And there are no bites, and there are no prone walkers. So that is going to end this turn. All right, we're going to start turn 6. Threat's going to go up 1 to 10, and we are now in medium threat again. We're going to start out this time with Lori because Rick's team has initiative. And Lori's going to start out by taking a shot with the old gun at Dexter in the hallway here. All right, so Lori has a base red shoot, and the old gun gives her an extra red, and Dexter has a white defense. All right, so Lori uses the gun. She causes 2 points of damage to Dexter, brings him down to 5. That's mayhem, so the threat's going to go up 1 to 11. And all of the walkers in the prison now, both of them, are going to move towards Lori. All right, over here with the prisoners, we're going to take Axel and have him run back into the cafeteria and search that supply token. He is going to find set of riot gear. All right, and then back to the survivors. Alan is again going to try and take on Dexter. And again, that leaves us with Andrew, who again has to take a panic check. All right, so Andrew rolls Berserk, which is going to increase the threat by 1 up to 12 and give him an extra red die in melee. I don't want him to fight though. All I want him to do is make a run action back into the room there with Axel and search out our supply counter. So that's what we're going to have him do. All right, and let's hope for something good. Andrew finds an M4 carbine. All right, so Andrew equips the carbine, and as long as he can stay healthy, he now has an M4 carbine and a police vest on. So he is super lethal. All right, now for Tyrese, we're going to take Tyrese and have him run back through the watchtower again, back into that hallway. Only this time, he's going to come out and attack Derek along with Alan. All right, so Tyrese runs back through and comes in to help out Alan here. All right, and that's going to leave us with Rick out here in the prison yard by himself. We're going to take Rick and try and lower the threat so we don't creep into high. So we will reduce the threat by... All right, so Rick reduces the threat by 3 all the way back down to 9. When Tyrese moved, I forgot to move this walker. So this walker is going to travel 6 inches through the tower and be at the end of that hallway. Just so you can see where that walker comes out at. And then Rick's second action, he's also going to run through that hallway and engage that walker. Okay, and that's going to be all of the actions for the survivors that we have left. Kill zones. We've got this walker over here outside of the hallway over here. And he wants to get in contact with Lori. So she'll now be fighting against 2 walkers. All right, so we're going to go into next event card. +1 to the threat, up to 10. And we are at medium threat, so white walkers enter play from each table edge. All right, so we spawned 2 walkers on each table edge. And just because this game is kind of dragging on a little bit, we went ahead and put those walkers inside of the buildings. So we put 2 in the corners over here, and then 2 in the corners over here. So we have 1 here and 1 right here. All right, we're going to start the melee phase. Again, threat up by 1 to 11. And we're going to have Lori against 2 walkers. All right, so we have Lori with her red and white against 3 purple for the 2 walkers. All right, so Lori goes down 3 wounds and is bitten. So she is on her last wound already. All right, so Lori inches away as far as she can away from those 2 walkers after she loses combat. And now we have Dexter against both Alan and Tyrese. Okay, so this will be Alan and Tyrese. And the red is going to be re-rollable for Alan's baseball bat. And we're going to keep that red die. And this is Dexter in defense. All right, so we have 5 versus 3. That means Dexter's going to take 2 wounds plus an extra 1 for that headshot. So 3 in total, which brings Dexter down to just 2 wounds left. All right, so that leaves Dexter with just 2 wounds, and he is locked in combat. There's nowhere that anyone can go over here. Because on the other side of the wall, you've got Rick against this single walker, which will do the combat for now. Alright, so Rick knocks that guy back one and prone, and with the prone mark up top, because if I put it next to him, my fingers will never fit in there to pick it up. Alright, and that's all the combat. So at the end of this turn, we actually have one prone walker, and Lori is bitten. So let's roll for the bite first to see if Lori dies due to the infection. So remember, badge is good and blank is bad. Alright, so Lori has died and come back as a prone walker. We're now going to roll for the other prone walker that Rick knocked down up here to see if they can back up. Alright, and that walker stands back up as well. Okay, we are at the start of turn 7, and the threat is up to 12. So we're going to start with the prisoners this time and begin here with Axel. We're going to Axel to try and lower the threat. Alright, so the threat's going to stay where it is. We're just going to take Axel and get him to move out of this room and draw the attention of the walker in front of Rick. Alright, over here we have Alan and Tyrese are jammed between a walker and Rick, so they're going to have to stay where they are. Alright, that's going to leave us with Rick up here. We're going to get Rick to run down and try and flank Axel with the walker. So Rick runs down the hallway to jump in the melee with Axel, and that's going to draw the closest walker from that corner down there 6 inches, and he makes it right there to the doorway. Which only leaves us with Andrew, and he is now essentially blocked into this room by these two walkers. He's outside of both of their kill zones, so we're going to roll to see if he's going to panic. Alright, so we come up with the run action on the panic die, and inside the building there's not too many places we can go. So we're just going to run into a corner, and then we're going to pull that walker across the room to us. And that's all the actions that we can take. So let's check the kill zone on this walker here in the doorway. So that walker comes over and moves into contact with Rick, and those are all of the kill zones that we're going to be able to move anyone around to. Let's go into an event card. And we get Rouse Lurkers, so +1 up to 13. We are at medium threat, as in low threat. So we have no lurker cards to shuffle back in. Red walkers are going to be placed in contact with each supply counter that we roll for separately. And then blue walkers are going to enter play. Alright, so we have a couple supply counters left in play. There is one in each of the prison cells, and then one in the front lobby entrance. So we'll roll for the open prison cell, now the closed prison cell, and the lobby. Alright, so we put one walker in contact with each of those supply counters, and now we're going to have blue walkers enter play. Alright, so unlike before, to spice the game up, I guess there was another walker in the armory, and we've had another one come through the watchtower. Alright, so we have lots and lots of melee combat going on this phase. So we're going to up the threat by 1. We are at 14 officially in high threat, and we're going to start out with Andrew against one walker. Alright, so Andrew is going to choose to defend. He has 2 red dice as his base, and he gets to have the police vest, so he's going to reduce damage by 1 red die. We'll roll that if we need to. He's going to be facing one walker with a single purple die. Alright, so Andrew is just fine down here, and he defends himself from that walker. We'll come out to have Rick against one walker. Alright, so Rick knocks him back and prone, and now Axel against one walker. Alright, so that was a whole lot of nothing right there. We just tie combat by both rolling a blank, and they are separated. Okay, and then back over here, it is Dexter taking on Tyrese, and Alan. All right, so we're gonna roll Dexter first. All right, so back over here. They tie combat. Unbelievably, they tie combat. Luckily, Rick had moved, so there's a little bit of room so we can separate them out at least. So we've got some gaps in between. That walker in the gray shirt is the prone Lori, so we'll have to see if she stands back up. There's no bites. We have 2 prone walkers, so we're gonna roll for them to see if they stand up, and we're gonna start with the prone walker over here next to Alan. And now Rick's prone walker. Okay, start of turn 8, and we are at threat level 15, so we are in high threat, which means that most of the folks on the board are going to panic this turn. So for Rick's group, we're going to start out with Alan, and we're going to roll to see if Alan panics. All right, so Alan is going to scream and up the threat by 1 to 16, and it's going to draw on the closest walker to him. Now, Walker Lori is still prone, so I'm under the impression that the walkers behind her are then blocked because it's not wide enough to go around. So the next closest walker is over here by Tyrese and Walker Ronnie. So we're just going to take him and move him into contact with Tyrese. All right, so we're going to go to Axel, and we're going to see if Axel panics because he also has medium nerve. All right, so Axel is going to scream also and up the threat by 1 to 17. So it's looking like this is probably going to be the last turn of the game. We'll see what happens here. And that's going to bring in the closest walker to him. Okay, and now over here on this side of the board, Rick has high nerve. He's not going to panic. So we're going to roll the blue die, use his stay calm ability, and try and get that threat back down. Okay, so Rick brings the threat back down by 2 to 15 with his first action. Second action is he's going to move around behind Axel. All right, now leaves us with poor scared Andrew down here in the corner. We're gonna roll to see what he does this turn. All right, so he can do 1 quiet action. We're just gonna get into sneak 4 inches towards that doorway. And that's going to be all of our actions. We're going to go into the kill zone phase here and see if anything moves around. All right, so Axel doesn't look like he's going to fare too well. We had another walker move into contact with him. We'll go into our next event card. All right, this says Forest Walkers. In a nutshell, it says we're going to place double blue walkers on the board. And we're going to put them inside the prison also. All right, so we brought on 5 walkers and we just kind of littered them all throughout the prison. So we put another one in the cafeteria, another one in the armory, one outside the prison cells, back in this hallway, just all over the place in the prison. We're filling it back up. Let's go into melee combat and get this one here out of the way with Axel against the world. So we're gonna up the threat by 1 because of melee at 16. And we're gonna roll for this. Before that, forgot to move Dexter. So in all that confusion, before we move him, let's see if he panics first. If not, all we're gonna do is move him into contact with Alan so that he can continue that fight. So Dexter's able to make 1 quiet move. So all we're gonna do is inch up and continue the fight against Alan. And while we're here, we may as well just get this one out of the way. All right, so Dexter's roll. And now Alan. And again, Alan has the bat, so we can re-roll. We're gonna re-roll and see if we can kill Dexter this go around. All right, so that's finally over. Alan gets the re-roll that he needed and is able to defeat Dexter with a headshot. Okay, so now we come over to this combat, and we have Rick and 2 walkers taking on Axel, who is wearing riot gear. And the riot gear says that the survivor attacking has to discard a die of their choice from their attack rolls. So what we're going to do is pick one of the walker dice to discard. So we're still going to have Rick's 2 white dice and 2 purple dice on behalf of the walkers. And because of Rick's hatchet, if we roll the headshot, we get to add in a red die. Alright, so we'll take all those dice out, and we're going to roll Axel's defense, which is a red and a white. Alright, so Rick and the walkers roll a combined 5, and Axel rolls a 2 in defense. So it means we have 3 wounds go through, plus an extra 1 for the headshot that Rick inflicted. So 4 total wounds, which brings Axel down to 1 wound, and he is still not bitten, and we'll finish this round out with Tyrese against 1 walker. And so Tyrese knocks him back 1 and prone. That's the end of combat. We have no bites, 2 prone walkers. Let's roll to see if they get back up. So this is the walker near Alan, and the one in front of Tyrese. Okay, and this is turn 9. Threat is on 17. We're going to start with the prisoners, and we're going to see if Axel will panic. Alright, so Axel gets to make 1 action, and we're going to get him to run in the corner behind Rick. And now over to Rick. Rick is still high nerve, so he's not going to panic. He's just going to go back and engage Axel. Back to the prisoners. We're going to see if Andrew will panic. Alright, so Andrew gets to take 1 action, and I don't want to end the game without having him shoot the AR-15 that he picked up. So we're going to shoot through this hallway, past that walker, at Tyrese. Alright, so for the shooting, Andrew rolls a white as the base and a white for the M4 carbine. So we'll see what he gets on his first shot. And Tyrese's defense, we're going to give him a blue for the base, and we'll give him another red because that walker is in between. Alright, so Tyrese is taking 1 point of damage, and the second shot will get us. And now his defense. So 1 goes through, plus an extra for the headshot, takes Tyrese down to 4. Alright, so Tyrese goes down to 4 wounds after being shot by the carbine. The mayhem takes the threat back up to 18, and a lot of walkers are going to come after Andrew now. Alright, was that worth it? At this point in the game, last ditch effort, you may as well go for it. So all the prisoners are probably going to wind up being taken out here, but gotta go for it. So we still got Alan over here in this hallway. Alan has medium nerve. We're going to roll to see if he panics. If not, he's just going to turn around and fight a walker. Alright, so Alan goes berserk, which is going to give him an extra red. It's going to push the threat up 1 more. We're already at maximum threat anyway, so we're going to add that in to his melee. Tyrese is the last survivor left. At this point in the game, it really doesn't matter what he does, so we're going to get him to sit still back there and check out some kill zones. Okay, so the kill zone draws 1 walker into Rick, which may be Axel's saving grace. This is going to be the last event card, which is going to be Rouse Lurkers, and I think this came out earlier on in the game. We'll do it again. Again, no discarded Lurkers to go back into the deck. We are at high threat, so we're just going to put double blue walkers inside of the prison. Alright, so 4 more walkers, come on. 2 more in the armory, 2 more down here in the cafeteria. Like we need any more walkers on the board at this point. Let's go into melee and start out with Rick against Axel and 1 walker. Alright, so again, Axel has the ride gear one, so we have to discard 1 die of our choice. I'm going to get rid of the purple dice for the walker and still roll both of Rick's white dice. And Axel's defense is a red and white. Alright, so Axel loses his final wound and comes back as a prone armored walker. So now let's go over and finish this. And we have Andrew surrounded by 4 walkers. Alright, so this is the attacks from the walkers. It is 10 dice, 6 are going to be purple, 4 are going to be red, because I just don't have 10 purple dice. Alright, so the walkers only managed to score a total of 5 wounds and a bite. So I actually have high hopes for Andrew here, who is at full health, and he has 2 red as his base, and he's wearing the police vest. So we'll roll his base first, which is 3. And now the police vest says that we're going to reduce damage by all enemy attacks by red. So we take off another 1. Alright, so after all that, Andrew only loses 1 wound and is bitten. And then the final combat over here, we have Alan against single walker, who is actually Walker Lori. Alright, so Alan, who is berserk at this point, rolls 2 red and a white against a single purple for the walker. Alright, so Alan takes out Lori, and this game is mercifully coming to an end. Rick's group is going to win. They have taken out 3 of the 4 prisoners, and we still have Rick, Tyrese, and Alan still alive at full health, unbitten. Big shout out to Andrew over here for being the lone prison survivor, who I honestly thought was going to be the first guy to be out. I tell you, as excited as I was to play inside of this prison, and it's nothing against the kid itself or maybe even the scenario, but it is so tight inside of there. You can only have single base-to-base combat inside of most of these hallways. It's just not big enough to allow to have multiple combatants going at it unless you're in one of the larger rooms like that. And with that main corridor, it's hard to get walkers or survivors separated. They just get locked inside of there by both sides. If this would have happened out in the yard, there's a ton of room out there, a ton of walkers, or maybe even in some of these larger rooms on this side, lots and lots more room for. Either way, this was fun. I hope you guys enjoy it. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel and be on the lookout for the next video in this series.